Welcome to the Black Script Storytellers. My name is Kevin Marable, and today we have an amazing roundtable. We have with us two leads, Ford Nelson and Dakota Taren, and the producer and director, Phaedra and Leland Benford of the film Empathy. Guys, welcome. How's everybody doing?
Doing good, doing good.
Thank you.
Awesome. I'm glad to have everybody on to talk about the film Empathy. I checked it out, really amazing film, but I want to be able to ask you guys all of the important questions as it pertains to the film. But first, we're going to go around the room, and if we could, I'm going to have you guys state your name and the role that you played in the film, whether it be a character or if you were a part of the production. Okay. And first, we will start with you, Ford. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Ford Nelson, and I played the role of Steve Bunn.
Okay, and Dakota?
Yes, my name is Dakota Taren, and I played the role of Susan Jacobs.
Okay, and then Leland and Phaedra.
I'm Phaedra Benford, and I was the producer for Empathy.
And I'm Leland Benford, and I was the director and editor for Empathy.
Now, this goes for anybody, whoever would like to explain this, but without giving the film away, can you describe what the film Empathy is about?
You want to take that one, Lee?
You got the log line.
Go for it.
Okay. So I like to say Empathy is a sex murder movie. If you like sex and murder, Empathy might be a good choice for you. But it is about Steve, who is going through a grief counseling group. When he meets Susan, his whole world gets turned upside down. Susan is a character, pretty dark, pretty twisted, who is living life by playing Cupid with a gun.
Okay. Okay. Dakota or Ford, anything you want to add to that or no? You're good.
Yeah, I feel like there's tons of twists and turns, and like when you think you know what the storyline is going to be, it just does a full 180. So it's definitely very interesting, and to see the two characters interact as well throughout the movie and see how their relationship grows with each other too, or ends.
Yeah.
They said it all. I have nothing to add.
All right. Well, Leland, let me ask you. The film deals with coping with loss and grief. As a director and a co-writer, can you talk a little bit about how this story came about?
I would love to, and I'm so happy you asked me that because this movie has such an incredible journey on how we got it to where it was. So the original writer of this film, his name is Rob Gans. So in 11 years ago, Rob was told that he only had 3 years to live. He was diagnosed with a very serious brain terminal illness where pretty much his brain is just getting smaller and smaller as he gets older. And after he was diagnosed with this, he had this whole thing with time and watching other people just waste time. Fortunately, Rob is still with us, but he had this script that he wrote 3 years after he was told this. And the original script was it was a little bit shorter. It was a little bit more aggressive, if you believe it or not, compared to what we did. So when we read the script, I really liked the ideal of this female character that's doing all these wild and crazy things. And we kind of reworked it with him to make it what we have now. But again, the whole theme of it is don't waste time, go for what you want. And I think all of us who worked on this project unfortunately, we took a little piece of Susan with us because even now in my personal life, if we're procrastinating something, we say, don't waste time, get it done, go. But, you never know what's promised. Tomorrow's not promised for any of us, right? Yeah. And that's where Rob was writing from. And that's how we was able to get this movie done. And I wanted to make sure we got it done for him because me as a director and a writer, I know what it's like to get your characters on the screen and you can see them talk and you can see them. And the casting process is fun. And I really wanted that for Rob. And there was a couple of moments during this process where Rob's health took a turn and I was like, oh, gotta get this movie done. Even when I was editing, I wasn't supposed to edit it. We had an editor that bailed out on us last minute. So I just picked it up because I was like, I can't waste time because I don't know how much time Rob has. And I really want him to see this movie. I really want him just to be able to have that experience. And that's what actually motivated the producers to come on this movie was Rob's story, and just wanted to help him live his dream and see that opportunity.
Wow. Shout out to Rob, man. Thanks for
Shout out to
creating that
Rob.
story. Yes, and I'm glad that you're doing well. And I'm happy to hear that he was able to see this project through, and that you guys were able to accomplish that for him. That's awesome. Let me ask Ford and Dakota. You both have a lot of chemistry in this film, and you play well off each other. Was it instant, or did you have to work on the chemistry?
Yeah, well, we definitely already we were like, oh yeah, this is great. This is gonna work because we got along really, really well. But we also went out a couple times beforehand just to like get to know each other, like nothing too deep, just like getting to like familiarizing ourselves with each other.
Right.
So yeah, after that, I feel like it was just very easy, and we're both very comfortable as well. And he made me really, really comfortable, so it was instant.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Dakota is a very strong talent to work with, and so her energy was very easy to work off of. So yeah, it was pretty instant. There were a few times where we were both navigating into like unexplored territory during the film, but we
Mhm.
knew we had each other's backs. So we both felt very comfortable to go to the places that we needed to go to support the story.
Yeah. And speaking of energy, Dakota, you showcased that alpha energy, and Ford, you were the beta. um, Dakota? What did you do to get into character to be able to pull that off?
I feel like so with Susan, I definitely I resonate with her a lot. Honestly, especially with like dating as well. A lot of the things that she was doing, I was pulling from. I mean, I already kind of was doing as well, but the alpha energy was different for me. But it was really fun because you always see so many videos and podcasts and you listen to them. So that's what I was doing. I was listening to like a lot of podcasts, and there's this book called like The Art of Seduction that I was reading during the time too. So and it's manipulation. If you know that book, Art of Seduction, it's a lot about like manipulative tactics that you can use to seduce people to get like kind of what you want. I was like, okay, this is Susan all over it. So let me study this. But yeah, I kind of took parts from that to like learn and like, build the connection as well.
Yeah, and the not Dakota, I'm sorry, Ford. You played the beta character well, but I also must say that you've through my research, you've had an extensive list of lead roles and taking on the lead character. What was it like for you to get into this character?
Um, you know, reading the script a whole bunch and asking a whole bunch of questions about like what is his motivation behind being so passive? Like, is it to gain sympathy or is it because he's actually there? So there's a whole bunch of research there. But in my personal life, I am not passive. I do like to you know, uh, take charge.
Mhm.
So it was kind of weird to like be in that mindset of like letting other people take me where they want me to go. And like I will do that, especially like with this cast and crew. They were awesome leaders. So it was just like, yeah, a lot of research about why he was there, what was going on with him, asking Leland and Rob and Phaedra what their thoughts were, and just like following their lead.
Yeah, and then Leland and Phaedra. Did you add anything to the character on top of what Rob had intended, or did you leave the characters as is and you just added to the story?
No, we definitely played around with some stuff, especially like our working with Ford and Dakota was just so amazing. Going through the casting process, Rob always was really big on like making this a very diverse cast. So if you look in the movie, we have everybody under the rainbow, right? And then when I came across Ford, when we did our Zoom audition, first off, Ford has a great look. He has a great voice. And then I did an audition with Dakota, and Dakota had just moved to America from Australia. Like
Right.
2 weeks in, we auditioned her, and I was like, "Oh yeah." Rob wanted Susan to have an accent. She has an Australian accent. He wanted a drop dead gorgeous lady. Dakota is drop dead gorgeous. So she checked all the boxes, and then she can act, and she's so willing to just do it again and pour
wall.
into it. And
Yeah.
she really wanted to hone in. And then working with Ford, I'm not gonna lie, I put a little bit of myself on Steve. There's a couple of little moments because I'm from Detroit, so I'm like, say it like this. Let me just see what it looked like. Say it like this. So there's a couple of moments. It just Ford was just always so down to just get it right. It just Ford in real life has really big Virgo energy, so I played with that with Steve as much as I could. He has really big Virgo energy. So I tried to play with that with Steve. So there's moments where I feel like you see Steve be passive, but then it's like really he's being passive only because Susan is just so strong. But he's not as passive with other people in the movie, right? Or it's moments where he try to stand up for himself and say what he feels, but then Susan is just so alpha that he just goes along with it anyway, right? So I love working with these two, and I think when Steve is having his interview moments with Ann Parker, played by Alexandra Denise, that's when you see kind of him take charge and not be as passive and not be, weak or anything like that, or being the beta. He's trying to get that overhand on her. But then you see him with Susan is just like, water putty. So yeah, those were the two kind of ways that I wanted to play Steve to show like, oh, it's just Susan that has that effect on him. Yeah. That's not normally, that's just Susan has that effect on him to make him like that.
And I definitely love to say that Dakota and Ford definitely brought their own spice to each of their characters. I so appreciated how much heart they put into their roles. Like Ford was talking about, asking all these questions and really building these characters out from the ground up. I think Rob and Leland had created a really great foundation for them to work from, but it really took these two individuals to really dig into these characters and pull them out. So definitely from page to screen, I feel like they added their own little funk to it. So it's definitely different.
Also, one more thing I want to add on to that. I was Susan's sugar daddy for like a good week. And I'm going to tell you why I was Susan's sugar daddy. So once the producers came on and we got money into the bank account, we had to start buying outfits. So I had asked, I had to buy, wardrobe. So I asked Dakota, I said, what do you think Susan would wear? Man, when I tell you within an hour, I had all these Sheen requests. And I'm like, I didn't even know someone could make a cart and then send the cart to someone so they can pay for it. I didn't know all that. I'm married, so my wife don't do that to me. So out of nowhere, I'm getting blink, 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 wigs, this, that. I'm like, okay. So then I got the credit card and I'm just paying. I'm like, I am Susan's sugar daddy. So when you watch the movie, all the clothes in the movie Dakota picked out for Susan.
Dakota did an amazing job of like really crafting that look. I think we gave her like tone, vibe, color, and she knocked it out the park. So
so and I think she was actually the only one that got clothes bought for her too.
I think
I see Ford is over there with his arms crossed, like, what about you guys?
I have to bring my own.
I think we went to the Goodwill for Ford, but we went. Susan got she.
That's crazy, man. That is crazy. Speaking of the rest of the cast, if you don't mind mentioning some of the other castmates that you guys casted in the film, because we also want to be able to include their names as a part of this project too.
100%. Alexandra Denise, Daniel DeVerges, Alex Javo, Jessica Aldrich, Sean Pierce, Kat Latrice, Lou. What's the name? Yeah, Lou, who plays our therapist in the film. I think it was Theron Dumas, who plays Big Ken, who does the whole sweet baby Jesus in a manger. First off, everybody loves Theron. We did Theron. Everyone was doing an impression of Theron on set. Everybody was doing an impression of Big Ken while we was on set. Yvette, who's not normally like an actress, she's in real estate but wanted to get into it. She was the partner to Ford's brother. But the whole cast came together, man. Angelica Anderson. Angelica played Sherry, who had that great scene talking about how her baby daddy was shot and having that whole thing. Angelica Anderson came on, and she just absolutely killed it. but everybody really just gave a lot to these characters. I had a lot of good conversations with everybody. How do you want this? How do I see this and see it like this? But the whole cast, man. And then also, Scott.
Scott Oakley.
Yeah, Scott Oakley, who plays the senator, Susan's stepdad. And then also Anthony Agogo, who is a legit bronze Olympic medalist who was a boxer. So Anthony Agogo is also an AEW wrestler. Go check out. He played Demetrius Watkins, the influencer in the film. And the fact that we was able to get him was through like Ford. So we had a couple of people on this project that dropped out. So anytime that happens, I like to go to my cast and ask my cast, hey, do you have any actor friends? Do you have anybody? Ford gave me like 4 people. And one of those people was Scott. And then Scott was teaching Anthony Agogo. We was actually at a wrestling show, and I saw Scott there, and I said, Scott, I didn't know you like wrestling. He was like, I don't. I'm teaching one of the guys how to act. I said, who? He said, Anthony Agogo. I'm like, holy crap. So I was a fan of Anthony Agogo. So, and I'm still a fan of Anthony Agogo. So that's how that kind of happened. But when he came in, that was big for us because here's a guy who met the Queen of England at one point in time, and he was willing to do our film.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. How long did it take from the time that you guys had the script and then you went into casting or even let's say pre-production and casting and all of that to when you wrapped the film? How long did that take?
It was supposed to be a short film at first.
Yeah. The
you
script
guys remember
that? The script was originally, I think we were going to have it around 35 minutes total for the project, but then once we stepped in with our producers, and God bless them, seriously, because once we stepped in with them, they were like, why not make it a feature? We were like, money, and they were like, don't worry about it.
Really?
So we were able to expand it into a feature. So it definitely was a labor of love. It took a while to grow that story out, expand it, get the cast on board with new character changes and depth into the characters and everything like that. And then rehearsals and then pre and everything. So I think by the time we actually got into production, it had been
it was like a good 6 months.
6 months, yeah.
6 months, and then we were shooting for 11 days here in Atlanta. Also, just a tip for anybody listening, to all the creatives out there listening, in my pitch deck, I had a option A, option B. So I said, hey, my plan is to make a short film, but option B is to make a feature. And with a feature, we can do this. With a feature, we can put it in distribution. So once I kind of made that clear to my producers who I did the pitch for, they all was like, let's go with option B and just make a feature. Because if, the story sounds good, if you can expand it and make it longer, then let's do that. So I think everything that was with the interviewer with Ann Parker and Ford and Steve, all that was added in after we went with option B to make it that kind of true crime kind of feel to it. So all that was added in with option B.
Yeah.
Wow. And as far as getting familiar with the roles, did you guys have any rehearsals in person, online, via Zoom, or did you guys go through any of any table reads or anything prior to filming? Let me ask Ford and Dakota.
Yeah, we definitely had a lot of table reads and sometimes phone calls as well, rehearsing, and we even met up and did rehearsals too. So yeah, it was a lot. It was every week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were doing it for a few months because I remember production kept getting pushed back because of all the changes that were happening. So we were rehearsing maybe since we got the script, I can't remember exactly, but it felt like 6 months or something like that. So by the time we were shooting, we were ready to go.
Yeah.
Right. And that also led to your chemistry as well. The fact that you guys were able to go over your lines, several times and be able to have that before, actually executing each scene and executing the film. That's amazing, man. And the fact that you guys were able to extend that out from a short into a feature by getting the producers on board. And Leland, I like the fact that you mentioned that you created a pitch deck for the producers, because one of my questions was going to ask, about how you were able to, come up with a budget and produce this film. And I know, Phaedra, you're the producer, so maybe this is between the two of you. I guess how did you go about finding the investors for this, or the other producers that wanted to lend the money, and make this happen?
Yeah, so I think something that we don't talk a lot about in the film industry is that there is an element of luck that comes along with this. There is an element of being in the right place in the right time, and then also being prepared for that moment.
Mhm.
So at that point, we had started playing around with this idea of our feature film. Well, at that time, a short film, and we were working with some of our clients in real estate. So me and Leland, we run Cupcake Rapture Studios, where we typically work with Black-owned businesses, that small businesses all around Atlanta, doing lots of different things. And we happened to be working with some individuals that were in the new construction game. So they were teaching classes, they were doing pop-ups, all sorts of stuff. So we ended up coming on with them as a part of their video team. The more we
Mhm.
got to know them, the more they started getting more interested into what we were doing outside of, commercial work. They were like, "What do you do on the creative side?"
Mhm.
We just happened to have empathy in the works. So we were able to translate that over to them. They liked the idea. They started reaching out to their buddies and said, "Hey, like, are you interested in getting into investing into entertainment?" We sat down, like Leland said, we built out a pitch deck. We had a conversation with them, met with them, explained it to them in their terms. So that's something that Leland talks a lot about. We also talk at SCAD sometimes, and we tell the students all the time, it's important to relate what you're doing to what your investors are doing so that they can understand how their money moves. So with us, as we were working with people in real estate, we said, okay, just like how you need framers, you need someone to lay a foundation, you need electricians, you need plumbers, we need directors, we need producers, we need gaffers, we need these things. And these are all the different elements that go into making our house, which is the film. So
Right.
we related that over to them, and they were able to understand on our terms and bought into the idea and really liked the cast, really liked, the process that we were building out. And also we promised them that they would get a little featurette. So if you notice at the end of the film, the bodyguards for the senator and
Yes.
the bailiff
Yeah,
and
prison
the
guard.
prison guard, those were three
Right.
of our producers. So
Wow. Okay. Yeah. No, that's
yeah,
awesome, and it's good to that you guys included them as a part of the project. You allowed them to even be a part of the process as well.
definitely.
And it was just like you said, it was a matter of luck to where you guys were able to come together and make this happen. Because oftentimes, people are scrambling to find that money, or digging into their own pockets or their own budget, to make things happen. And you guys were able to knock this out the park. But I also feel like a part of that is the pitch deck too. You might not have gotten their investment without having a pitch deck and a proper plan in place to showcase how you were going to execute this.
Definitely.
Yeah,
The pitch deck is a huge part about it. You can talk a little bit about
yeah, and shout out to Gene Johnson, Kelly Parker, Josh Baker, Dwayne Deal, Malcolm Ferber. Those are all our investors.
Mhm.
Gene Johnson and Kelly Parker, they do Construction Kings. You may have heard they've been called out on Club Shay Shay a couple of times. They do work with Desi Banks and Gary Owen. So these
Okay.
guys, they've been killing it. And like I said, we just happen to have those connections. So once we kind of figured out this is what we want to do. We love the story. We wanted to make something that felt familiar, but also a little different at the same time. We wanted to make something that took a sharp left turn in the middle of the story,
it.
which I think this one does. And then once I just kind of had that conversation, but yes, pitch decks are very important, man, because people want to see that you know what you're doing and that you have a plan
Business.
outside of just making it, right? So my pitch deck included, what are we going to do after the movie comes out? What are we going to do, post, so and having that. And actually we got a couple of marketing things that we're getting ready to jump into coming up to get more on this project, to get more eyes on this project.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely. We
Okay.
we talk to people a lot about how film, like they call it the film business, emphasis on the business. Your
Right.
creative will only take you so far, but that pitch deck and you knowing your numbers and knowing how you're going to get this thing out there, that is what gets you the people in the door so you can actually step over the barrier and make your project. So it's important to have your business side taken care
And
of.
also, we already had our cast in place when we did the pitch deck. So
Yeah.
we did a whole photo shoot with our cast and put that in the pitch deck so we can show them these are what these people look like in these roles and all of that. We did a whole pitch deck
that
for
was a
every
fun
character.
photo shoot.
That was a fun photo shoot. So we had pretty much when we brought it to them, we came to them in a position of like, we're ready to go. I got my team, I got my actors. We already have our locations. We have everything ready to go. We're at the starting line. We just need someone to say go.
Now, all of that is great, but I also want to know some of the dirty aspect of it too. Were there any hurdles that you guys had to overcome in creating this film?
Yeah, there was some hurdles. There's always hurdles in creativity. I mean, anywhere from we had the hotel scene. We had a hotel. We thought we took care of that 3 months before we got on set, and then when we got to set, we had originally rented out 5 rooms right next to each other on one corner of the hotel, so we won't be messing with everybody else. But when we got there, we had 2 rooms. One of them, that room at the end with the hostage, stank.
That was a smoking room.
That room, it was crusty. It was musty. We were not happy in that room, and I think it actually helped the performers because we all wanted to get out. We all felt like hostages when we was in that damn room. I had PAs spraying Lysol and Febreze. It stank.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we were scheduled to be there to 2 a.m, and they wanted to kick us out at 11 o'clock. So. Exactly. So I kind of had to be creative in my Detroit finesse ways to make sure we got into 2 a.m. because that's where we shot our ending scene. That's where we shot all
stuff
the
we
big,
couldn't sacrifice.
It's big moments we're shooting. We already rented a cop car to come out and be there. We had to have the fire chief on board because we had fire in the scene. So I mean, it was just too much happening for us to just to leave at 11 o'clock. And I remember the cast, even the crew was like, everybody knew something was going on, but we tried to keep it, hush hush.
Right.
But we end up working it out. But other than that, every day was a hurdle. Every day was a something. Every day.
I definitely say that every day on production, like something happens. There's not one day that goes by where everything's like completely smooth. There's always something that happens, and then it could be that you think the day went smooth, and then you get home and somebody's lost the footage, or somebody,
There's a beautiful scene that nobody will ever see that we shot inside the Mustang, and it looked so great, but the footage wasn't properly handled, and that scene is gone forever. But it was beautiful, and it was some of the best work in the movie. I wish we. But anyways, those heartbreaking moments happen, and I think they happen on every production.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They happen on every production has their own story, but it's just about still making it work and making it happen, and just going through. It's the little stuff you get that will make a big impact, and then sometimes heartbreakingly those don't make it in.
Yeah.
But I think we still did.
Yeah, it still came
out. It still came out.
All in the end.
Yeah. Now, Ford and Dakota, you guys had a couple steamy scenes in the film. Was there an intimacy coordinator on deck? and how did you guys make it through those scenes? As actors, just meeting each other, really.
We were the intimacy coordinators. Again, Dakota is a wonderful talent to work with. And because we had a history together throughout this entire production process, we knew what this film needed, and we were both comfortable going forward with what was needed, what needed to happen.
Right.
And like I let her know that, like, if anything it's too uncomfortable, I'm on your side. Like, we can walk through this, we can talk through this if you want to. And then the cameras rolled, and we just hoped no one was taking pictures.
Yeah, Ford made me really, really comfortable, and so did the whole production as well. We were in like a closed set, and I feel like it came really naturally and easy, and like we already knew what was coming, so it was smooth, it was fine. So Yeah, no, we didn't think too much of it. We just went in and like gave it our all, and we were like, good.
Yeah. And I remember the first scene that Dakota and I did in that Mustang, when she first takes Steve to her Mustang. Uh, it was like a lot of fun, I'm not gonna lie, because that was like Steve's first interaction with her in that regard. And man, she blew his mind. I got to be so creative with what Steve was experiencing. And I think that came out so well. And I think that was one of the first sex scenes we did. And so after that, I was like, okay, like, yeah, we can definitely like work together in that regard too. It was a very comfortable and like creative environment that she provided.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel it's
Imagine-
important. I'm sorry. I feel it's important to ask that question only because, you see a lot of these films and you wonder like what goes on behind the scenes. And it is important to note that in a lot of cases there's an intimacy coordinator, and that there's a lot of discussion and things that go on before scenes like that happen. And it's important to know for actors who are up and coming to know as well, if you ever get into a role like that, what to expect. So that's why I wanted to ask that question.
Definitely.
Were
I
you
just
guys
want
going to
to
say?
add that, yeah, no, on the crew side, it was really important for us to make sure that the sets were limited for those scenes. And that's a tip to actors coming up. Don't be afraid to request that. If the set isn't doing it already, don't be afraid to step up, because that is what's required. That's what we need to be doing. This
Right.
isn't a playground. This is real people we're dealing with. So we need to make sure that we're taking people seriously and making sure everyone's comfortable. So yeah, it's really important to keep your set only essentials, only the people that absolutely need to be there, need to be in the room, and then everybody to just be respectful. On top of that,
Right.
it is super important. So definitely a tip for actors moving forward.
And then also our DPs, Stefan Perry, who also was behind the camera on all those shots. Him and Ford had worked together before, and Ford had recommended Steph to
Okay.
me. But even with like how your DP handled it, right?
Yeah.
Like the way that he was being able to kind of make sure he's professional, because he's the one closest to them during those moments. Some of those moments I was way back, but we made sure to have those comments. And I think I walked up to them all the time and be like, all right, we here. We've been talking about it. The time is now. Like we've been rehearsing it for 6 months. And I think even in rehearsals, we had some intimate moments, and not only with Steve and Dakota,
Yeah,
Steve
but
and
also with Jessica and Alex had intimate moments as well.
Jessica, the other couple in the movie,
Right.
and their scene is a little bit more forced. So it's like making sure they were comfortable. So I had them come over and rehearse in private, and how we, making sure that we kind of get some of that stuff out of the way, and then also talk about what is comfortable for you, what is not comfortable for you. Do you not want to be touched here? Do you not want to, but having those kind of conversations are important, because you don't want anyone to be not not want to be a part of it because of this, right? But also during our audition process, I let everyone know this is a sex murder movie. Like it's going to be steamy parts. It's going to be this. Do you have any issues with that? Do you foresee you have, so making sure that I'm just transparent and saying before you say yes, read the script. Before you say yes to this, read the script, because the script is kind of wild. So before you say yes, read it and then tell me you want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And lastly, about the film, you kind of left it on a cliffhanger. I don't want to give it away. Is there going to be a part 2?
Ooh.
I know I've been getting asked that a lot. I've been people saying, y'all better make a part 2. Where is part 2? Why is part 2 not out yet? We never thought it would be a part 2, but I tell you this much: if we get support and if we get people who want a part 2, we get enough of those people. If our Tubi numbers come back good, if things like that work for people who really like it, go to our page on Facebook, go to our empathy page, go to our Instagram page, and show your support for it, and tell us you want a part 2. Because the more we see that, then it'll be undeniable to make a part 2. And we actually have some really good ideas.
We've been bouncing around some ideas. I think all of us have still had a little bit of, well, maybe we could do a little this, this or that. So definitely,
Yeah.
I remember having a conversation with Ford after filming and be like, okay, so part 2. We just started talking about it. So definitely on the radar, definitely something we would be interested in exploring. Yeah, just looking for that extra support to show that, there's an audience for it for sure.
Also, was also been so incredible during this whole process is seeing how everybody responds to Steve and how they respond to Susan. I thought people were gonna hate Susan. I thought people were gonna say she crazy, she cuckoo. But I get so many people showing empathy to Susan. It is
They're
so.
like, I see what she's doing.
She's a little wrong, but she's not
Right.
wrong. Or somebody says she's a superhero. I wish somebody would wake me up in the middle of the night and take me to some. So I've just the response, the fan, like the people who watch it, and like everyone's just reviews that come in, and just seeing how everybody looked at those characters in a totally different way to how we saw them, but taking them for themselves and giving them their own thing is just that's been like that's been the best part of it.
Yeah. And definitely, I think when we were doing the premiere, we had a group behind us, and they were giving the best commentary the entire time. We were cracking up. But yeah, Susan definitely got a lot more support than we were like. We're like, okay, I'm troubled by it, but I'll accept it.
Yep. And Dakota and Ford, during the premiere, or maybe the first time that you guys watched the film, what were your thoughts on your performances in this project, or in everybody's performance, really?
Well, the entire movie I was really impressed by. I was so glad to see it finally come together, and it really was a beautiful production. And I was very kind of overwhelmed with just seeing it because we were talking about it for years, and then we shot it, and then now we were waiting, and it finally got released. It was like a big weight off my chest, and also kind of surreal because that was my first feature I've ever done. So shout out to Leland and Phaedra. So thank you for that. But my mom was there, and so when all those scenes were showing, I was in the chair, oh my god, just not looking at her. But she liked it. And it was also so cool to just see the amount of support that the film got, because that whole theater was basically sold out. We had all my friends, all their friends, everyone's friends came to watch us and support the film. We also had an interviewer there. I forget her name. I didn't get to talk to her. But yeah, it was a pretty big deal. Yeah, it was very surreal.
Yeah.
Dakota?
Yeah.
Pretty fun too.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It came out so amazing. And just seeing everything that we did put together on screen in fruition was just really, really cool to see. All the colors, everything just made the whole story come to life. And I just loved seeing our characters live as well in it. So it was really, really cool to see. I think, yeah, I had my friends in the cinema watching the sex scenes come up, but it was totally cool. It was fine. And because it was done in such a cool artistic style as well, it was really, really creative how it was shown. So it was fun, and, it just glazed over
it. Just glazed over it. Yeah. Sorry, were you guys going to say something, Leland and Phaedra, earlier?
I was saying, room one.
Oh yeah, we were shouting out to the interviewer that came out with us. So we had a little red carpet and photos being taken. We had a really good time at the premiere. But it was room 1002 who came out and gave us some on red carpet interviews, which was really fun.
And we didn't even know they was going to be there.
Yeah. Shout out to Tamiko, our PR, for setting that up. Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, we had a really great time at the premiere. Like Ford and Dakota said, we packed out that theater. It was really fun. Just hearing the applause, hearing people say how much they liked it afterwards. It made all the struggles and all the pain that goes into making these projects worth it. That was the big moment. So we're super happy with how it turned out.
I know in the beginning of that year, I said, this is the year I do my first feature, and I didn't know what it was going to be. It turned out to be Empathy. And even when we start to see it fall into place, we was like, Empathy is our first one? And then we start to fall in love with the story and
Yeah.
characters even more. And then we're like, yeah, Empathy is our first one.
Yeah.
And now we're proud to be like, go to Tubi, check it out,
Yeah.
and let us know what you think about it. You know, that's the fun part, is the conversation,
Yeah.
and to see how people take these characters and how they interpret them. That's always the funnest part for me, is just talking about it. So
Yeah.
I know my sister, I got a sister who, she says, like, some guy was trying to talk to me and I looked right at his shoes and was like, nope. So and, and that's something for the movie, right? So it's
Right.
like she was like, nope, I'll be good, thank you. So it's
Right.
just seeing those little things and how people take little bits of Ford and little bits of Dakota with them after they watch it. That's the fun part.
Yeah. Hopefully, if there's a part 2, Steve gets a new pair of shoes.
I still got those shoes in my car, ready to go.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. Okay, so I will go around the room once more. I would like to know what's next for each one of you, and we will start with Dakota.
Yeah, so now that I've just moved to LA and everything, I've been working on a film. It's a short film right now, and I'm like really excited to see where it goes. So, and I'm one of the supporting roles in that. And yeah, we've just started talks about it. Like we haven't even gone into like full production yet. So yeah, I'm really excited for it.
All right, and Ford.
I just got booked on a vertical shot soap opera out in LA. So I'll be working on that, going there in August. So first time shooting something in LA, so I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
Let's go
congratulations.
Ford.
Congratulations to both of you, actually. And Leland and Phaedra, another movie in the works.
Yeah, we got a couple of things cooking right now.
Yeah.
But right now, another project we worked on, which Ford was a part of it as well, From Yard, which is like a Jamaican immigrant story. We just got accepted into the Toronto International Nollywood Film Festival, so we're
Wow.
going out there. We're going out there in September, and we just got into some Jamaican film festivals that just aired, and then we're heading to the American film market in November to pitch some more projects. Now that we have this one under our belt,
Yeah.
and we have so now we officially have 2 projects where the budget was a good amount budget. We're ready to kind of take on more work and go from there.
Wow, that's amazing, man. Congratulations, guys. And congratulations on all of your future endeavors, everything that you've accomplished thus far. And I like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed the film. Um, Definitely, everybody who's watching, if you haven't watched yet, please go to Tubi and check it out. Is it on any other platforms besides Tubi? Let me ask that.
It's on Roku, and we're going to be coming soon to the CW network as well.
Oh, yeah, that's huge too, guys. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank
Wow.
you. And
Yeah,
thank
so
you guys. First of all, thanks off to the Black Script for doing these type of interviews. We love your Instagram page. Thank you for putting highlights on to Black filmmakers and just putting a whole highlight on our industry in general, especially the indies, because the indies always need that love. So thank you guys for just being a champion of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to be able to give everybody a shot. Put light and spotlight on places and areas and people who don't often get that spotlight, and be able to give props to what it is that you do, and also provide a certain level of education to what it is that you do, so others who are looking to get into this business can learn and grow from each interview that we do, even though there's a certain aspect of talking about your film and your project. There's a lot to learn there as well. So we try to do things full circle and provide all of that content for folks. So we definitely appreciate that as well for you guys. Thank you.
Definitely.
But yeah, with that being said, I truly appreciate everybody's time for coming on. Thank you so much for sharing your journey in creating this film, and also a little bit about your each of your journeys in the film business and what each of you do. And like I said, I truly appreciate your time. And this was an amazing interview. Thank you guys so much.